Welcome back to 11's Dirt Life. Today I wanted to go through a quick rundown video for you on brake lines, more specifically extended steel brake lines. I had a custom set made from Crown Performance for my Jeep. At the time I went to get brake lines, there wasn't a lot of options out there. There's a couple extended brake line options out there for JLs and JTs. A lot of them I think are actually Crown lines branded as another company. A couple companies might make their own, but Crown Performance is known for, they're really high end performance extended braided steel brake line. So I wanted to just do that when I was doing the axle swap, so I didn't have to do it, bleed the brakes again and redo lines. And with the travel I knew I was going to get out of the suspension, I didn't want my brake line to be the limiting strap. So I went ahead and got in touch with the guys over at Crown. They didn't have anything specific for the JL, so we kind of I sent them a lot of pictures and a lot of measurements and things like that for my UD60 axles, and the line that I wanted, the length that I wanted. So what we basically did is we took the JL Sport the JL Sport brake line length, and then we added 3.5 inches to that line. And then I went through, originally I had them make me a banjo that was the exact same as the banjo that comes on the JL, because that's supposed to be plug and play for the UD60, but because of my suspension and the way things were, I was having issues with the hook and the bend, so I ended up doing a straight banjo with a round end on it. So I'll show you what that looks like versus the one you would see, which would have a square and then would have like a bend at some angle degree to put the brake line at whatever angle it needs to be. So this is just a circle banjo that runs straight down, and then that way I can cock the banjo on the brake caliper, whatever way I need it, so that the line can come off the caliper in whatever direction I need it to. So those are a couple things that I did. You can get custom colors over the lines. I just did black. You can do red, green, purple. I've seen all kinds of colors, so whatever brake line color you want over the steel braid. And then the way you route it can be differently. You can get the actual brackets that go on the JL. So the brackets for the JL have I'll show you in the axle and the bucket where it mounts it to keep the line nice and stiff and stable where it should be, like on the other side of the coil. I didn't want that because I wasn't sure what my suspension was going to look like. I wasn't sure, a couple of things. So I wanted the versatility of being able to move the line in front of the shock or behind the shock if I wanted to, not have brackets on there to deal with. So what I did is I put like a rubber hose over the line anywhere that it's going to rub, a very thick rubber hose, PVC. I could cut it and then wrapped it around it and zip tied it on, and then I have the lines zip tied wherever I need them, so I can move them if I need to create more slack or kind of get it out of the way. That's kind of how it's set up. So let me grab the camera. I'll get you in the wheel well and show you what I'm talking about. We'll get in the back and I'll show you what I'm talking about, and then I can kind of go over a couple of the things on the lines themselves. So let's go ahead and grab the camera. And let me show you what we're working with. Okay, so here's the front. You can see here, this is what I'm talking about as far as the banjo. So this is what's on the end of the line, and this is a circle banjo. What you'll see on your OEM axle, or a lot of times you'll see it's a square with a little notch that sits really nicely in this spot right here, but it only goes on one way, and then it'll have a bend that comes off of that. This metal piece on the banjo will be like at some sort of angle, right? So the JT angle initially was like this, but when my wheel is turned in, I was making contact with the lower shock bolt mount there, so it was kinking my line. So originally that's how I had them built. I sent them back to Crown, and we went with the circle banjo here, so you can see that up close. It's a little dirty, but it is just a circle with a little bit of a shaft coming off of it. And then you can see I've got the black, the black covered line. And then this would be where the bracket would be. So on a JL, JT, JK, there's a bracket that mounts into there that keeps the line mounted to the coil bucket nice and tight, and that keeps it out of your coilover or your regular shock and coil. You don't want anything getting in there and getting pinched. But like I said, on my JK in the past, I've run the line on the other side, so on the back side of here. So I wanted to have that option depending on my shock setup, my axle setup, whatever I was doing. I wanted to move that line if I needed to, so I didn't want to have a hard bracket that was stuck on there permanently. So I've got a really thick rubber hose on there, and then I've also got, you can see the rubber hoses right here. So from here to here, it's rubber hose, and then I've also got just some lume to keep any rubbing from there. And then in areas inside the here where it may rub or it's rubbing on anything, I've got it covered in that rubber hose. So I just keep an eye on that. And then there's the hard line.
where it mates into the hard line. So again, I added 3.5 inches to my line to get a really long brake line, which is not for everybody. You know, the longer the line, the more it has to travel. But I wanted to be able to have this thing just have insane amount of flex when it's set up and dialed, and not have my brake line be my limiting factor. So round banjo, and then you can see the ABS line coming out, and I just have that all zipped all together with that. So there's that. Let's go to the back and I'll show you what I'm talking about back there. You can see here is where the hard line meets the new crown brake line. And then I just have the line looped down, and it runs in between my lower bump stop and straight across right here. So you can see I've got that rubber hose in anywhere where it's rubbing in between. It doesn't really rub a lot, but I have it there just as a protective measure. And then I just have it running straight down. So see, if I had a banjo that was pushing it out, it would be in my coilover. So I needed to do, the straight down banjo here to not have the brake line making contact with the coilover shock. So anybody that's wanting to run coilovers, that's something to consider with these calipers on the UD60 brakes are just absolutely massive. So there's not a whole lot of room there if you're running the stock brake line. So that's kind of what I got going on with that. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to let me know. Message me in the comments or hit me up through Instagram, your typical channels of asking me questions. And yeah, so Crown Performance brake lines. Thanks for tuning in, guys.